What's up there, Workforce? Chris here with Work to Game, and I just finished Shadowbringers. Um, uh, Simply amazing. I just wanted to sit down and record my thoughts on kind of what my initial impressions were, having just finished the initial content serving, the initial MSQ, got my class to 80. I've unlocked flying in all the zones. I've unlocked a fair bit of like the fate mount speed. I've gone and I've just messed around with a good bit of the initial content serving, and this might be the single best expansion launch that I've ever been a part of. It's definitely the best in probably the last 10 years. The last time I can think of something that impacted me this much, it was probably the Lich King launch for World of Warcraft. And story-wise, like, I actually caught myself watching all the cutscenes, which I know here on the channel is kind of a running joke that, like, I don't watch the cutscenes, Brian does. And I watched every single one. I read all the side quests, like all the little plus sign quests that unlock, the Aether flows and all of that. I did a lot engaging with the story, and it took me a week to get through all of it. I mean, it took me right at like 6 days to really get through this much of playing a pretty excessive amount. The music was on point. The dungeons were incredible. The storytelling was good. There were multiple times that I found myself like emotionally invested in the game, like I would be a single player game, like a Zelda or like, another mainline Final Fantasy game, where I find myself wanting to engage with the story like I do a single player, but there's still these multiplayer components on top. My class feels good. I played as warrior, and I just wanted to sit down and say thank you to Square Enix. It just feels like they really listened. I that's not to say other dev teams can't be listening, but I know that there's a lot more ways to play the game than just the way that I play it or just the way that Brian plays it, and there's a lot more that we want from the game. And so when we say somebody's not listening, it's like, well, they've got a lot of voices. I mean, if there's 16 million players, that's 16 million unique interpretations of the game. So how they can get feedback and then move forward with it is a pretty daunting task. And somehow they've done it. I go out and I look at coverage, and I go out and I look at other creators, at least here within the North American community, and some of the EU community like that we engage with. It feels like they hit everything we wanted, and that's a lot of viewpoints to hit. I just feel like there's so much positivity out there, and if you don't like this game, that it's the reasons that people aren't liking it. You might not like MMORPGs. Like, I think this is that good of a game in 2019 that's okay. Maybe MMORPGs aren't the game for you right now, but like, it's pretty spot on. I can nitpick at it, and I think Brian and I might sit down and try to make some videos looking for like, where could it improve? Where could it have landed a little bit better? But in my mind, there was a bar set for 2019 by, ESOs present in the space. You've got Anthem and Destiny 2 doing whatever they're doing, and you've got World of Warcraft trying to turn it around with 8.2. You've got Classic coming online. BDO, Guild Wars 2. Like, there's a lot in the space, but the bar is pretty much like, just keep people playing. Like, just, if you make a mistake, like BFA or Fallout 76, just try to turn it around. Try to make some effort at continuing to support your game and get it in a healthier direction so that it can go hopefully back to, there's no reason for the game to die. That seems to be the bar that's set for most of 2019, at least from where I'm sitting. And for Square Enix to come in and say, you know what, forget that. We're going to redefine what a launch is. Like, a successful launch, in my opinion, is smooth servers, a fair amount of content for the fact that I bought it, enough continued things that it holds me over until the first content patch, and then enough of a preview to know that if the classes aren't balanced, that it's fixable. If the loot system's not balanced, that it's fixable. I don't even expect those things to be perfect. On launch, we spend the majority of our time questing, leveling up characters, getting gear, getting established. So if your class is a little underpowered or a little overpowered, it really doesn't break that much content, as opposed to when classes get out of balance mid-cycle, and we're talking about things like ultimates and savage being a huge definition of what a fair number of players are getting out of the game. So right now, if I'm out in the world and it takes me an extra 3 seconds to kill a monster. Like, yeah, that stuff adds up, but it's not the end of the world. As long as I can clear all my role quests, as long as I can get into dungeons, as long as I can get past all the mandatory like MSQ related things, it's probably fine. They came in a lot higher than that. They came in so far above that bar that it may redefine what I expect from an MMO launch. It's pretty astounding. I haven't felt this way about a game in a long time. Like, I'm just giddy to play it. I smile and I laugh and they send chills. Like, it's just amazing. So I know there was a lot of criticism around like the media being too hyped about this and all that, and it's just Final Fantasy to players that don't play it. What's the big deal? But the big deal is that there's nothing wrong with it. There isn't anything to sit here and complain about. And there's a handful of people who don't feel their class is well balanced when they're under 80. And I'm sure we'll find out that, some classes aren't balanced even at 80. But across the board, pretty smooth launch, guys. Like, the number of disconnects was pretty minor. The number of times that, even with it was a pretty small number of players affected. I don't know that anybody else can do it better. I don't know that any other game can have a better launch. I don't know how they beat this with 6.0. I don't know how they keep this hype going into 5.1, which does look huge. I am simply blown away, simply overwhelmed, and I am excited to get in here and start diving into the expansion in earnest, start doing all the more typical things, getting my retainers leveled up, maxing out those fates in each zones, going and leveling other classes, making sure all my gear is kitted out at 440 on everything so that I'm ready for that, the Phantasmagoria and all that. It's an exciting grind. It's an exciting time to be in Final Fantasy, and I am just pumped. So I hope you guys are as excited as I am. I really don't have anything negative to say here. I'm keeping this spoiler free, so I don't really have anything to weigh in on why I feel the way I do and why. But do your MSQ, do your role quest, enjoy it at your pace. With the trust system, with the way they set things up, you should be able to enjoy the content in nearly the same condition for weeks, if not months, if not years to come. It really won't take away from it. I think going through ARR and Stormblood and Heavensward on launch, there is something special about being there that day of, when you're running everything blind with everybody and all of the story. When you're in between story quests, there's like a million people running around, and there's something exciting about that just doesn't get replicated when you come in later. And so it's worth catching up for the next expansion if you've never experienced that. They've set up Shadowbringers in a way where, like, I still feel like if you joined in today, if you joined in a week from now, if you joined in at 5.1, you would still get a fair bit of that. I'm hoping that the new fate changes will keep people out in the world, and with the trust system, you can enjoy the dungeons the way you want to at any time. Simply incredible job. Thank you so much, Square Enix. I am just pumped. That's all this video is. I'm just excited about the game. I'm just hyped. We're going to keep coming out with one dungeon guide a day until we're done with all the dungeons. And then we're going to start working on class guides and all these other things, getting back in there and refreshing so many of our videos that are now out of date or slightly inaccurate or massively inaccurate from where they, tell you how to play at level 70. So like, they're still accurate for that largely. But they do not clue you in on the number of changes with Shadowbringers, so we'll get to remaking those for you guys. And thank you guys for hanging out with us, the number that we're able to hang out on stream. I get it why other people weren't. Enjoy your expansion. Don't let anybody spoil it for you. Enjoy it, enjoy it, enjoy it. My name is Chris with Work to Game. I hope you guys are having a fantastic beginning of your time in Shadowbringers. I look forward to sharing more of it with you in the months and years to come. Have a great day. I'll see you next time.
Do you guys remember Clyde the couch bear from the early videos when I was shooting in my living room and the couch was right behind me? Just wanted to do a quick update on his life. He has been way promoted. He's now guest bedroom bear. Doesn't flow as well, but definitely feels like he's got his own sweet gigs now that we have 2 beds in our house.